hopefully a few more people to join still. So I'll start the actual presentation in 3, 4, 5 minutes time. I'm trying really hard now to stop saying failed already. That was 23 seconds in. I am recording today's session. I recorded last week's session. The idea is these then become blog posts. We can share what I've talked through. Again, there I go. We'll see how it goes. So be aware of the fact that the whole thing is being recorded. Hopefully I won't put anyone off asking questions. Fingers crossed. And what I generally say here is, while we're waiting for everyone to join, please do share in the general chat whereabouts you're from. As it's nice to know people are coming in from around the world. So please drop a note, general chat, what city, country, continent you're joining from today. 7 a.m. Riesling, you're crazy. Really appreciate joining in. India's amazing. UK, it's great to see you. I actually was on the phone this morning to my parents back in Australia and saying that I was doing this workshop today. And then I was like, well, do people join? And where they coming from nearby? Like, they're locals? I mean, actually, no, they're from all around the world. So they were amazed at the fact that I'll be speaking today to people from the US, from India, from all over Europe. Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate it. Please feel free dropping those notes in there. For today's session, there is a bit of a disclaimer. I just dropped it into the Q&A. Please just tick the upvote just to confirm the fact that you're okay with today's session. It will hurt your eyes today. This is not my normal sort of reporting, dashboards or anything. It is scary. It is overwhelming. It's ugly. It's very, very ugly. It's totally wrong. But as you'll see, hopefully it's really powerful because, or in spite of, how wrong it is. So I appreciate the ticks of okay, the fact that you confirm you're okay to proceed. Sweden here as well, that's great. Is Nottingham actually the heart of the UK? As in the central part of it, it's the beating heart. It powers the rest of the UK. I'll go with that. Let me get the presentation on the screen and share my screen and go through the basic formalities first. So today's session, all about performance diagnostic. I have a feeling that I know most of you, and for people coming every week, these are the same first couple of slides. G'day, my name is Peter. I am an Australian. That comes through very quickly. I am trying to speak slower. The accent is staying though, and I'm definitely trying hard to stop saying and quite so much, having watched a bit of the recording from last week. I lived in London for 16 years. I moved to the Netherlands 6 months ago, quite enjoying it here now the weather's got better. Been in digital analytics since 2006. I created my own agency, L3 Analytics, back in 2010, sold it 3 years ago, exited last year. I'm also the founder of MeasureCamp, back 2012, which is a digital analytics unconference that has gone around the world. It's on a Saturday. It's free to attend. Start of the day, no session board. We have no idea who's speaking or on what topics. The great thing about it, though, is the fact that anyone can speak, any topic, just get up there, presentation, discussion, anything goes. The next one, virtually, is a European-wide MeasureCamp. There are still some half-day tickets available for it. It's on the 3rd of July. So if you haven't got a ticket, I recommend getting involved. But I'm now back freelancing. ZHS Orchards. So these workshops, I'm writing blog posts. I'm now back freelancing. I have more free time. I'm writing blog posts. They're not read as widely these days. So I'm trying different to see if I can spread my knowledge out wider through these mechanisms. I'm also conscious my ideas do flit around a wider area, so I can't do a formal course. This goes instead. The idea is this should be 30 to 45 minutes. I'll speak for about 20 minutes. People in Europe, this could have to be your lunch break, so bring your lunch, eat your lunch. Someone last week was baking while listening along to it. It is a MeasureCamp style, hopefully, which questions at any point. Please ask a question, ideally in the Q&A. You can do it in the chat, but it's easy to find in the Q&A. Or also you can raise your hand, you can icon at the bottom of the bar to raise your hand. Please do that. If you want to come up on stage, ask a question in person. It's always nice. I want the sessions to be practical. So today's session, I have a Google Sheets template for you to have a work on. I've got a Google Analytics, sorry I'm using other tools, but Google Analytics custom report to share with you, tell the data extract. So I want you actually to walk away with the start of your own performance diagnostic report. And the whole point, I like sharing my knowledge. That's a nice thing to do. It's the best way to get feedback, to get challenges back. Please tell me where things aren't right, what you don't understand. Help me make the work I do, what I share better. And of course, I'm a freelancer. I'm looking to generate some leads. It was great last week. Got a call through afterwards from a prospect. That's really nice to have happen. If this appeals, please get in touch. But enough of that. We've got 19 people here today. We'll look at a few more. Let's get into this. Performance diagnostic. First of all, my philosophy, dashboards. I like showing in a way as little information as possible. I generally have a lot of information hidden behind the scenes, these big data tables, but the point is you show as few numbers as possible. It doesn't scare people, especially the non-data people, but they can apply segments. They can drill into the details and the charts, everything else, rather than just seeing all the data in one time. That's my normal philosophy. This one's different. This report, you can see, it breaks all the rules, all the guidelines. It is ugly. It's an absolute data puke. It's not the right approach generally, but it is what it is. So to show you that, quickly, what it actually is. It's a data matrix. Every row is a different metric. You have traffic metrics, your session views, behavior metrics, the bounce rate, the percentage of new sessions, percentage of people who use site search, your conversion metrics, whatever your key success metrics are, they're in there. If there's a funnel, throw them in. Your micro conversions, useful visit interactions. And I say optional here. Like anything else, you can go basic, you can go advanced. Keep it simple to start with, and they get more advanced as time goes on. Then every column is a different dimension. New returning, location, your device type, your browsers, operating systems, traffic sources, entry points, and anything else you want there as well. So as you quickly can see, when you multiply that, you get thousands of data points, hence the data puke. And here, I believe the next slide is what it looks like. So you can't really see, obviously right now it's all blank, there's no numbers there. And it's small, a bit hard to read. But here's your traffic metrics, the top 4 there. Behavior metrics, key conversion stages. This is a retail website. Sales metrics. I've got a whole set of website actions, potential ones, types. That's just because there's an advanced version. And even negative actions, things like people who view 404 error pages, trigger form validation errors. And we have all these metrics across all traffic, then all the metrics for just new users or just returning users, for just your prospects, just your customers, for desktop, tablet mode. If you're mostly for just domestic users versus all your international users. Operating systems, traffic sources, entry points, and you can add more there as well. I'm not going to count all this, but that's over 1,000 different data points in one massive data report. And that's all it is. Session's over. Not quite. So how do we actually use this? How do we build it? What's it all meant to do, though? That's just a lot of information. How to make it useful? What you do, you create this, you design it yourself. So like I said, I'd choose first almost core metrics only. Don't include absolutely everything. Your very first version simple. Make it your default, your key traffic behavior, macro conversion actions. Key dimensions, pretty much default dimensions, the one. The first time you do it, maybe do it manually. Again, this works with GA, Adobe, any tool at all. Ideally, if you're using it more than once, automate the entire process, you press a button and it all updates. You then print it off. This is one actually I prefer to use on paper rather than on the computer. Print it off to A3 pages, probably more than one page. It'll still be small print. This one you might get the magnifying glass out for. But you want it all laid out in front of you. Then get the entire digital team in a room with this printout, lock them away. Supply some pizza, possibly even beers after the first couple of hours of it. And I mean, this should be a half-day job to go through the entire performance diagnostic number by number, row by row, column by column. What you're looking there for. So every number at the top line in that all traffic one is your average across the entire website. What you'll also see are high points and low points. What is possible to achieve for each metric. You've basically got here a set of internal benchmarks, which you know are possible. So review every metric across all the dimensions against those internal benchmarks. Look for the outliers, both high and low. The dimensions where the numbers look higher or lower than they are compared to the average or against something different. And for each one, does that make sense? I mean, is your conversion rate much higher for your returning visitors versus your new visitors? Yes. Does that make sense? Well, if it's 2-3 times as high, yeah, that's normal. It's returning visitors versus new visitors. Desktop versus mobile. Is it higher on desktop? Is it twice as high? That's fine. If it's 5 times as high though for desktop versus mobile, that looks wrong. Investigate further. Domestic international, what's the ratio there? For every metric across every dimension, go through it. Basically going through and you're circling or highlighting all of them to go, that feels weird. That number's different and it shouldn't be. I want to look further into this. And with that, I mean, just as a quick sense check, could you even calculate the financial impact of a fix? And I'll give you an example in a few minutes' time what I mean by that. So the outcome of this this half a day digital team in that room, locked away with the pizza, is a list of like 10 or more data points, and they're not going to be answers. They're data points for further investigation. But these numbers that look weird across your entire business because you're looking at everything in one go. I made a mistake once. I was meeting with a e-commerce director at a UK retailer, and it brought us along, almost as a bit of a special surprise gift for her. And I was stupid. I handed across something going, hey, here's this A3 page. Here's all your numbers in one place. And she went, that's great. That's interesting. That's, so we're talking about yada, yada, yada. But, and I lost her. So I was looking at the numbers. Flicked back to me. They got lost again. Going, that's interesting. Why is that one there so low? We should look into that. Why? Can we check that one out later? But what was the meeting about again? I lost it for the next hour because every number there to someone who knew her business, cared at all, she could finally see everything in one place and just things jumped out at her. That's what this does. That's weird. That's interesting. I want to know more. circle that, hold all these. You'll probably get 10 or more, I find, from my experience, for further investigation. As an example, a reminder as well before I do this, please do ask questions, Q&A ideally, or raise your hand. I do try to monitor the general chat as well. These are made up numbers, a small subsection of a retailer performance diagnostic. Your metrics there, like your sessions, percentage of sessions, so you can see it split. 65% users, 37% returning, 52% desktop. Not a small tablet number, it's bigger than normal these days. 80% domestic, 20% international. Your e-commerce funnel, which I went through last week, but now it's split down by dimension, so even more powerful. Your sales metrics, and literally start going through this going, all right, if my average is just under 2% conversion rate, all right, lower for new, higher for returning. Okay, that overall, that probably makes sense. Desktop, 3.12, yep, fine. It's higher than normal. Tablets, higher than average. Wait, that's 10 to 1. That's wrong. Something not right here. What's going wrong here? Why is this so low? I mean, it should be lower, but if that's at 3%, this I could increase by 5 times. And by that money aspect, if I could increase that by 5 times, because I know if I'm saying 5 times, my rule of thumb is that mobile conversion rate should be half that the desktop conversion rate. If that was 5 times higher, that'd be 5 times higher. That'd be an extra nearly £200,000 for the last month. 200 grand's worth my time to actually dig deeper into why this one's lower. Domestic international as well. I'm looking here. Chrome. Well, Chrome's way higher than normal. Why is that? Is it because of the splits of desktop? Or is there something else going on here? Something else is underperforming, make that one up so high above average. That's interesting. Sorry, Steph has jumped in a good question earlier. How do you stop people from saying, how does that compare to last month? I'm going to go a little bit more later on, but the point of this dashboard, this performance diagnostic month on month, look at the trends, actually look at the internal benchmarks. I would hope you've got dashboards for those month on month comparisons. So you can actually see how things are changing on a regular basis. You always have to, for the purposes of using this dashboard, this report properly, is to let go of that. Tell the team that's against the rules in a way. We're trying here just to see how it's comparing against internal benchmarks, not just against a previous period. If there's any month, you've got the option, create a whole separate one and compare the two side by side. But if it goes up or goes down month on month, has it got better or is it just bad last month? It doesn't actually tell you anything to compare month on month in that sort of terms or against last year. Unless you're looking at all the trends, you see it basically a spark line for every single metric. That's too detailed even for me. So I hope that sort of helps the question there, Steph. It's not so much how do you stop them from saying it. You can't stop that. It's to, in the meeting itself, the review meeting, it can return to later and just focus on looking at the internal comparisons. And one thing I'd look at to say, well, why is so look at this number? Was it a one-off job? Was there a trend where we lost all conversions on mobile phone for a 3-week period? This made this look so low. I'd then look at the trend. So I'd want to look at the numbers first, highlight the weird numbers. One of the things I'd look at very early on, the next level of investigation, would be that trend over time. And that's when that starts becoming applicable. But for an example here, I mean, you can see the domestic international overall 2.2% versus 1%. If you're here last week, you know that number is kind of irrelevant because it could be skewed. Recruitment, blog posts, etc. Relevant. And 1 point. It's quite low for international, but domestic, it's just about half a number. Why is it so low? And look at the funnel and go, well, it must be the checkout process because People international, like, can't get deliveries to their stores, not in the right currency. The checkout process is much lower for international, and actually, no, it's not. That's fine. The checkout process works fine here. Actually, the lower stage is not then, it's people looking for products, going to view a product page. That's where it's lower. Why is it lower here? I mean, is it a language issue? Is it a currency issue? Could we actually fix those two things to offer the website in different languages, or to take them onto their own country website? The geolocation functionality isn't working properly, or can we actually click a button to show the products in different currencies? A quick fix. I mean, is that worth it doing? Well, yeah, I mean, you might not be able to get that to 83%, but if that got from half the difference, 45% to 64%, halfway to 83%, that's actually a 42% increase in transactions for international visitors, 20% of your traffic. That'd be an extra 848 transactions at that average transaction value, an extra 62K additional revenue every month. That's worth spending some more time looking into. And that's worth paying for a tool that translates languages, translates currency. If that was 95% one country, creating its own country website for just those visitors, because we can see the impact of fixing this. That's really powerful. And that's said one number out of the entire dashboard that jumps at me. I want to look into this deeper. I can see ways of making more money. So, I mean, I'm not going to try and give a lot of examples there. I want to try and actually help you out build your own dashboard, your own performance diagnostic. The reminder that the soccer you go to me, the best way of using it. You update the report with the recent data, hopefully ideally a 4-week period, and it's a 4-week period without any skewed data. Like, you wouldn't include Black Friday within this cycle. It would skew the data. You get lost in the room in a lot of detail, pick out 10 or more points which look the weirdest. Do you want to investigate further? After the investigation, some of them will be like dead ends. Nothing actually is an issue. There's just a weird number. But you should end with about 5 actions you can take. You've learned from actually these investigations, very targeted from using a performance diagnostic report to improve performance. Take the actions. Do the work based on data to improve performance. And then repeat the cycle. After action's been taken, collect fresh data, wait a month, start the process again. And this would take every sort of 3 to 6 months. You're going through the entire process. This should not be a report you look at every week, every month. It's got, you pick out the KPIs, put them on dashboards, look at them, the changes and the trends. That's useful. This you want to see once every 3 to 6 months, possibly only once a year. Because the whole point here, it's not going to be instant answers, but it's a way of stepping back. It's almost looking at the, if you've heard the Eisenhower matrix, low importance, high importance, low urgency, high urgency. It highlights what the high urgency is. Things which have gone wrong, you need to fix immediately. We're constantly working frustratingly in the low importance section. Things we need to do as soon as we can, small impacts. This report's different. This is actually really targeting the high importance, low urgency section of that matrix. Things which, the bigger picture ideas, things which aren't causing problems right now, things you're actually not aware of that are causing problems right now. But if you put a day aside to it, build the report, get locked in the room, eat the pizza, find the 10 areas, investigate further, spend some time in the next couple of weeks digging in deeper, get the 5 actions, you'll have 5 things you can fix, things you weren't aware of, which will improve performance and make a major impact on your business bottom line. And that's the real power of digital analytics. It won't happen every day, every week, every month. Every 3 to 6 months feels about right for it. Any questions before I actually hit how to actually create your own performance diagnostic? Please raise your hand, put it in the Q&A. No? All right. So I've created this Google Sheets document, and if I can find it, because I'm going to say in the chat if I can see my screen, the before Google Sheets document now. Hopefully you can. Yep, cool, brilliant. So actually, I'm over here in the chat. Here you go. Your own copy of this. Please do grab it, create your own copy as a starting point for yourself to use to create your own performance diagnostic. If you're a retailer, boom, you've got your key metrics already. If you're anyone else, change the metrics to suit yourself. Set the dimensions. Note within it some things I've got. I've got some metrics here labeled as hide. The whole point is you don't actually want to see these numbers. It's even too many numbers for me to actually include in this report. They're used to calculate other ones. So new users, well, actually, the calculation for new sessions is new users, because new users equals new sessions. Little trick for you. Divided by total sessions. Bounces gives me bounce rate divided by session. So bounces divided by sessions is bounce rate, and so on. So all the calculations to be in here as the example. Everything else you fill in yourself. Again, if you can automate it very fast. If not, manually, this is still work. To go through it number by number and adding in numbers. To make that easier, I've got something else for you. Let's go into analytics. This is the Google demo account for the Google Merchandise Store. What I've got here, and I'll share the template for this as well. Is an example custom report to get numbers out. So here's the numbers, the key metrics, my behavior metrics, and here's some of the conversion and sales metrics. Now, little thing just to be aware of, the demo store, the demo account for the Google Merchandise Store has, in my opinion, a rather shit setup in Google Analytics, which means I can't get at all the numbers I want easily. So if I include some of them, the ones that are there, not all of them. This is also available by user type, new returning, device type, country, traffic source, and so on. So a lot of the numbers I actually need to fill in that spreadsheet are all in here already. Riesling, great question, actually. Who's the target audience? Now, for this, I've read before the digital team. It depends. It's going to vary from business to business. For a retailer, I would want the e-commerce team in the room. For a publisher, probably someone called the digital team. If you have too many people, it's going to get committee-wise. If someone's too senior, it's always up to them if they want to join or not. You have to be okay with numbers, but I think keep in mind with this, in deciding who's in the room and who's not, the point of this isn't to create the answers straight away. The point of it is to review it and find out the look weird, just to create the highlights. Now, people who can answer straight going, actually, there's a reason behind that number looks weird, you want them in the room. If someone can also say, while numbers look very similar, going, wait, they shouldn't be similar, that number there looks weird, you want well. So it is one we can have a big group. Senior people, great, as long as they're not too bored by it, which can happen at times. Definitely any analyst should want to be in the room. So yeah, but it should be ideally for me. It's an e-commerce team, a digital team. It's a fairly representative of the whole company, looking at the numbers. Steph, so it has to go. It's fine. That wasn't a question. So what I wanted to show you here, back to this, plug some numbers in. Even better. Jumping slides. So total users, traffic metrics. Sessions, 63,646. Unique users, 49,542. Page views, 307,742. Users there. This can go pretty quickly. Traffic conversion metrics, let me just throw in there purchase completed. Different numbers here. Interesting. Why is they different? Let's look into that deeper. Are we not tracking things correctly? Does it contain duplicate transactions? Because these numbers are the same, really. Someone's mentioned supermetrics and APIs. Yeah, for me, I've always used Next Analytics. So I do it in Excel rather than Google Sheets. I use Next Analytics. I spend some time creating all the requests by it, pull it all out, and with this, for me, it's pressing a button and the whole thing comes out automatically. Supermetrics, exact same thing. Google Sheets, the GA extracts will work the same way. You should be able to do it any way you want to. Google BigQuery, the data's there, working out how to use it, pull the numbers out. So creating the design first, and once you got the design, defining which metrics, then you spend some time, automate the entire process, make it fast. To use. But I want to put in here 1608 is my order sessions because I then get website conversion rates. And user type, same thing, new users. So new sessions first, 45,656. 17,990 for returning users. You could go total minus new users to get returning, could be faster, depends on your preference. That will not work with users though. Notice these numbers very similar as they should be. That should be higher, more sessions per user there. Jumping down a bit, new users, relevant bounces. 23,851, returning 6,735, bounce rate for new users 52.2, returning 37.4. A lower bounce rate returning users, that makes sense. Actually, page views in here, 184,639, 123,103. So this here is if I eliminate all the engaged sessions, the ones who didn't, what's the page user per visit for everyone else? Calculations in there, again, higher, as I'd expect, not massively so. And we're going to throw in here the place order sessions, so conversion sales metrics for this. 949. 9. And we've got conversion rates 2.1%, 3.7%. I'm actually okay with that. It's different, but it's not too different. That doesn't feel. Moving on. Obviously, this will take me half an hour or so to update the whole. I'm not going to do it now, but you can see the pattern there of how to go at doing it. If you want to practice, anyone can access a demo account. There's a link online, search Google Linux demo account. And you've got the spreadsheet here, fill it all in yourself. Otherwise, have a go through your own business and website. So like I said, copy the sample, add your own metrics. I recommend starting basic. Don't try and put in every number you might think's interesting. You'll get lost in that. Do your first version with the basic metrics, basic dimensions, play with that, get some value out of it, and add more. It comes to the caveat. When you first try and create it, just put in everything you think could be interesting. And then you might find going, oh, we're actually not capturing people who look at product
or people who add to wish list. Why are we adding
add to wish list? That's a really interesting metric. We have to improve the tracking now to get that metric out. So this may lead as well beyond the analysis, the investigations, and hopefully action to take off it, lead to more tracking because the numbers you want to see just aren't available. So any questions for anyone who started creating their own performance diagnostic or started populating it on that process beyond, yeah, definitely try to automate it, use APIs, use tools like Supermetrics.
with that?
No, well, I'm conscious of the time. I try and finish about 45 minutes, about another 10 minutes to go. I'm not going to read through all this, but here, while I'm talking the next part, some optional retailer metrics, go into more detail. Charlotte's asked a very good question. I'm going to mention it later on, but I'll get to it now. Would you use this for benchmarking a site after migration? So this tool for me, I started using it in a workshop. Actually, this tool works for every situation, every use case. One is just your general review. That's used to go on through here. But if you create a new website, I would definitely create a version for the old website versus the new website. It is your A/B test comparison, but with more than just one key numbers. It's everything in one place to see actually there's an issue with this one stage of the funnel in this one browser on the new website. Each comparison, that's power. Also, create a new website feature. Create a version of Performance Diagnostic around all the metric dimensions related to just that feature. The website, but target your metrics dimensions around the feature and focus on that. If you're running a campaign, new marketing campaign, create a baseline as a benchmark and look at performance for just the campaign. Look at what it looks like. Here's normal behavior. Here's Black Friday. Change around Black Friday. Is it more returning visitors? Is it a particular stage of the funnel? Does it apply with all traffic sources, all entry points? What is changing here? What can we learn from this? What can we do better for future promotions? I may not say, look at that in a minute. But I hope, yeah, Charlotte, definitely, for me, doing a pre-post site migration, this is a great tool to use. Riesling, yeah, how do you build your intuition? What you might call better your spidey sense. It's a fun way of saying it. It takes time. There's no shortcut here. The more you practice it, the better you get. I had my team using these with clients, and my team built it for a client once, went, great, Peter, we've had a chat between the rest of us. We've had this performance diagnostic, we've had a look at it, and yeah, what next? I mean, and went to a room, and I was able to show them, going, well, let's look at it. Let's go through it slowly, step by step, and well, look, that number there looks weird and wrong, and so does that one. And that comes from experience, no shortcuts. I mean, my best ever around that one is I used to work at Warner Brothers, pre-web analytics. It was in the DVD section, and we were selling DVDs to through various stores. Your in the UK terms, HMVs, WH Smiths. We just had Amazon and play this new online ideas. This is now going back a long time. And every quarter, each salesperson had to go in with the sales director, this massive A3 spreadsheet with all the new titles, all the promotions, all the catalog titles, and justify their forecast for each title for the stores they were looking after. And the sellers were literally terrified, having shaking sort of fits. They once actually had, I think, one of these sessions one time. Because the sales director would look at it. A3 page, meaning he knew the business, he knew the titles, he knew what Warner Bros. Was selling, knew the stores. This is the first one we see in the forecast. Small print, A3 page. He looks at it going, yep, okay, that's fine. Huh? That number there. What's that number there about? And he'd pick out the 2 or 3 numbers in the entire A3 small print spreadsheet where the salesperson was bluffing number. And he just managed to find, because he had that salesperson going, that's wrong. And if the salesperson was bluffing, couldn't justify the number, they'll be sent packing with a lot of verbal abuse to go back and do the job properly, and it comes saying when they were ready. So ignore the whole verbal abuse part. Spidey sense, you get to learn numbers look wrong. Look through them regularly. The more practice you get, the faster you'll get at it. So here's some examples. You probably actually had a chance to read through, hopefully. A whole lot of detail. If you're tracking it, but really powerful. My favorite one, prospects versus customers. Seeing their performance report, diagnostic, for a customer for a client of ours who had say a 3% conversion rate. Yeah, Peter, we're okay, our website's doing well. And seeing it split by customers, 20% conversion rate, prospects, 0.5 conversion rate, life changed very quickly. The average customers who knew them keep purchasing again and again and again. For prospects, pretty bad. You could have dimensions. People, these are metrics and also dimensions. Flip it on its side and say, metrics for the visitors who've done this. What's special about them? Agenda by default from GA. Look at the marketing channel, not just all organic search, but break it down by your Google, Bing, Yahoo. Look at email campaigns by a different type of campaign, if that's important and relevant to you. Up to you what you want to include. Publishers, a whole set of metrics there as well. How many sessions did they view an article, read articles, share articles? How many article views read the article? How many article views shared the article? Did they look at more than one article in their session? Did they click on an ad, subscribe to the newsletter? Whole sort of things you can add in there for publisher metrics. And the same for anyone else. Just brainstorm it. Challenges. This is a big thing. You want the data, tracking must be in place, must be accurate. And that number before for the merchandiser, the Google Demo Store, Google Merchandise Store is a demo account. Transactions and the goal completion for sessions that viewed the order confirmation page were off by too much. Something was wrong there. They were not tracking add to baskets correctly, and therefore I couldn't look at the numbers. These things are missing. Data's wrong. This breaks all your reporting. Within GA, within any tool, the slower way of doing it, but it would work, is for every column, you create a segment. The segment is visitors who entered on the home page. Sessions that entered on the home page, sessions that used mobile, iOS, and so on. If you're doing sampling in GA, if you're using non-standard metrics, sampling may start impacting you. Reduce the date range if need be. I've had it before. I run a 4-week period. I pull the numbers out for 1 week at a time, added the 4 together, and that's my 4-week period, get a bigger data sample set without sampling it impacting anything. If need be, look at it 1 day per time and add it all together. More manual until you automate it, but it gets the results you need. It does mean as well you can't get the other category for unique users so well. That metric can break. We discussed it earlier. Automate the data extract. Use non-skewed data. What I mean by that is don't include Black Friday in your data. Don't include that 3 days last month when your website went down. Your numbers all look weird. So if you've got a tight range where your data is all skewed, exclude that. You want a nice standard period to look at these things. And then compare standard against the weird data ranges. Could you get overwhelmed? Remember, the whole point here isn't trying to answer all the questions in one go. All you're doing here is looking through it, and it will take hours. Look for all the weird numbers. Keep your role as that only to start with, and avoid being overwhelmed. And you may find, your segments are just too different. Desktop and mobile are just so different, or even the website experience is different. That's fine. Create one version for desktop and just look at that. Same exercise. Create a different version for mobile. Go through the exercise there. possibly compare the entire two performance diagnostics to see what the differences are, or treat them as independent. Up to you. And I mean, just to throw it out there, could this all be automated? I mean, go ahead the question, I mean, how do you actually find what's different? And I mean, in theory, anomaly detection should actually highlight all the numbers which are too high, too low. In theory, if you showed enough of these to machine and told it which the weird numbers were, it should be able to learn these weird numbers and machine learning to then do the work for you. I'm still suspicious of machine learning AI for this sort of work. I think that spidey sense, which a human has, using intuition and the creative side of it, is so much more powerful. But have to be aware of it. And other uses you mentioned earlier, new website, A/B testing, your baseline against a campaign period. It's a big use case for this. So beyond marketing people,
For product managers, this should be their go-to tool for everything they do. Release a new feature, compare the feature using a performance diagnostic.
Doing testing, compare A and B with performance diagnostic. Look at everything. And that's it from me. Do I have any more questions? Feel free to raise your hand, Q&A, or the chat. Questions?
Suggestions? As we did previously, I can demonstrate how to convert a website visualization map into an analytics page naming convention. I now have a web visualization for the Volkswagen Belgium website. It is massive.
I have to write the blog post for it. We can go through that. So that one can go through more detail. Or e-commerce maintenance report. Blog post already written. Similar to this, as a report we can go through. That's this week's registration. I didn't get this updated, unfortunately. The new registration could go live later today. Please look out for it. Please come again. And if you enjoyed today, please share this on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Invite more people if you can. For me, the biggest thing you can do to help me out is to get a bigger crowd. 20 is great. I appreciate all of you. I would love to be 100 people strong. More questions. Remove the old ones. Biggest impact being able to have a client with this report. Beyond using to actually make them actually think about data differently and go, we need to look at this in more detail and actually start using data properly. I think this was my first way I found one for a retailer where their conversion rate for mobile looked too low compared to desktop. Like I said before, mobile should be about half the size of the desktop conversion rate. This was just too low. It's like similar to this report, it was just a tenth of it. And they went, no, it's just the user experience. It's a bad mobile website. Back in the old days, mobile website, bad user experience, that's all it is. The numbers for this went, no, that's wrong. It felt wrong. Looked deeper, looked at the funnel, found the area. I dug deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And actually, they actually had two bugs on mobile website. One was blocking the add to basket in certain circumstances. And in all circumstances, you could not purchase on the mobile website. You got the payment page, all your details in, press the button and said, sorry, got a temporary issue here. You can't make a purchase. Try again later. And that had been there for, I don't know, weeks or months. So they took the website down, mobile version down, just the desktop website, which was ugly as well. And the revenue went up massively overnight
for people using mobile phones.
That was the biggest thing for me. George got the question regarding the last comparisons. Again, in the same process of exporting the data before and after, right? Yeah, so you basically want to create a baseline. Ideally 4 weeks. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 1 week. But again, a nice sort of baseline of what it looked like previously. And then you want to create the new version post the changes happened. You can do it quickly. Get your first full day of data. Being aware it's used only 1 day of data. Doing it after 1 week, doing it again after 4 weeks. And for me, in the past, I just look at your one lot of numbers, but it's so much more powerful than that. But doing it, 1 day, 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, comparing it to the 4-week period.
I want to see which numbers look weird, look wrong.
Did that answer your question, George? So the question was about the
this week. It's not live yet.
Sorry, I will put it though into the LinkedIn event for this week, so you can go there at the end of today, click on the link, use the new version that way. And just to find out what is next week about, can you either 1, 2, or 3 as your vote for next week's topic? I blog in ZHS Orchards. That's in the chat now. ZHS Orchards, and obviously I share all my blog posts on Twitter and LinkedIn. So follow along there to see more. Currently, e-commerce report is leading this quite convincingly. So cool. Next week's session will be on the e-commerce merchandise report. We'll save the Volkswagen Belgium map for another week then. In the chat, I think someone actually said that, Paul, putting this on Eventbrite, that's something I actually hadn't thought of. Thank you very much for the idea. I use Eventbrite for events, but I actually had something previously for this sort of thing as well. And actually, you're right, it works really well. It gets a whole different audience out there. So thanks for the idea, Paul. I will do that in the future. That'd be great. Apart from that, actually, here's the website. Thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate your lunchtime. One of these half-hour sessions, I can't talk that short. I try to speak that quickly. Please get in touch with any more questions. I'll be around for another sort of 5 minutes or so in the general stage here if you want to ask me any questions directly there. Otherwise, it's my email. Follow me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn, check out the website. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon or day or evening, depending on where you are, and have a great weekend.